MR2s on the Dragon is one of the largest MR2 events in the country. More than 100 MR2s show up from all over America to drive this legendary road. But wait, how did me at 16 get here? I was always obsessed with cars. At 13, I got into Forza and a stranger gave me a first-gen MR2. I fell in love. They were awesome to drive and even better to look at. I spent years researching endlessly about these cars on Facebook Marketplace, even during school, and I was generally dreaming about eventually having one of my own. But what I found was mostly either bubble-wrapped and completely out of my price range, or rusted junk that burned to the ground 30 years ago. Not that I had the means to buy it at the time anyways, or a place to park it, or even a driver's license, so it was all hypothetical. But last year I turned 16 in October, and by November, even though I still didn't have a place to park it, I got the green light to buy one. Within 30 minutes of searching, I found the one. 137,000 miles, straight body, they got the salad spinners, mostly unmodified, great paint, and one owner owned it for 35 years and kept it in his garage. Well, he never drove it. And my dad and I made a little video on the way up to get it.
So we're about an hour out from, sort of want to go over what we're looking to get. This 1985 MR2. Apparently it started off life owned by the son of like the dealership owner, where it originally came from. And that was up until like 89, right? But in 1989 it was sold to this dude named Buck. And Buck owned it all the way up until, August 2025. So what is that? 36 years, yeah. Yeah, and then it was owned by this dude, Greg, who we're now buying it from. So
my dad and I drove about 200 miles, surveyed it, and it had minor rust. Great for the MR2. They usually have a lot more. It ran great and seemed to be in all working order, but the aero lights were on and there were a bunch of issues hiding underneath the excellent body and pretty good condition paint. We bought it, replaced the alternator, which made the dash aero lights go away, and took it in for a safety inspection, which totaled in at about $6,000 worth of work to get it on the road. I don't have that kind of money, so it took me and my dad another 6 months working through a 4-phase plan to fix the suspension, engine, and electrical issues, all to get it registered.
Clayton and I heard about Tail of the Dragon for years, and the road has a really cool history to it. It went from being a buffalo trail to a Native American trail to a settler wagon road. It was finally paved in 1930. And it's super windy and technical because that was the cheapest way to build the road because they didn't have to build bridges or tunnels. And so after it was paved, it just sat around for decades. It was used by hunters and farmers and lost tourists. It is wedged between the Cherokee National Forest and the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. And so there's no land that's available to develop. So there are no intersections, no driveways or businesses. There's basically nothing aside from the cops to keep a driver from hauling ass. So in 1992, a motorcycle guy named Doug Snavely formed the Deals Gap Riding Society, and he took over what's now the Deals Gap Motorcycle Resort. He gave the road a catchy name, he created the Tree of Shame, started a newsletter, professional photographers came, and the whole thing turned into kind of an internet legend. We always wanted to drive it. When we ran across MR2s on the Dragon, we just had to go.
After a bunch of late nights in the garage, I got the MR2 through inspection on Wednesday, registered on Thursday, and left on Friday. We live in Virginia, just outside of DC, so it's about a 1,000-mile round trip. It's a little bit risky in a 40-year-old car that we've only had street legal for about 48 hours, so we decided to trailer it. I'd committed to play guitar in the school awards ceremony early on Friday afternoon, so we couldn't leave until later.
We stopped for dinner at the Pink Cadillac Diner. Now, this is an authentic Elvis-themed piece of Americana. So the story goes, Elvis bought a 1955 Cadillac Fleetwood Series 60, painted it pink, and gave it to his mom. And the Series 60 was like an expensive luxury rig, and it became one of the most famous vehicles in American pop culture. Now, the car out front of the restaurant is actually, it's either a 54 or a 55 Cadillac Series 62, which is kind of more the everyman Cadillac, which is more our speed anyway. But the diner was cool. It had a jukebox, a ton of Elvis memorabilia, had an Elvis burger, friendly service, and really good food, actually. Super worth it, but it put us even further behind schedule. We keep driving, and about 2 a.m. I see this sign on the side of the road. It turns out on our way to Fontana Village Resort, the GPS put us on the actual Tail of the Dragon. So I wound up towing this whole rig through Tail of the Dragon, and there were like deer on the road everywhere. There's the occasional crazy guy in a car or a motorcycle that was just kind of unloading on the road. And so between the truck and the trailer, I was like 40 feet and 10,000 pounds tip to tail. It was pretty terrifying. We finally get into 3 a.m. I had to wake up the front desk guy. He lost our reservation. I got to bed about 3:30 in the morning.
Saturday at 8:30, we showed up to the meet. Probably about 100 MR2s of all 3 generations, an even split between Spiders and second gens, and there's only about 10 AW11s. There were a lot of wild builds too. There was this like blue and pink heart themed AW11 owned by a Canadian mom named Simone. It's got a Gen 4 3S GTE engine, and like imagine rolling up into the school carpool lane like that. Next up, we have a Safari build. It's got a 1MZ 3.0 V6 from a Solara. It's naturally aspirated, especially good for those big tires and that lower end. We got this track build, no windows, came all the way from Texas. Got it down from like 2,200 pounds to 1,750 pounds. I'd love to understand how this light thing handles. Next up, we got this gray IW11. It seemed like an almost complete rebuild, and it's all supported by the Hux Racing guys. And then we got the Spider, if you can even call it that. Another cool one was seeing all 3 generations of MR2 in the same color, lined up all beside each other. A lot of people were actually family too. There were a bunch of father-son duos, and there were a lot of couples too. I wasn't sure what to expect, so I joined Run Group 6. Remember, I'd not really driven this car at all. I had some travel permits before I could get it registered, and I'd never driven it fast. I didn't really want to feel stressed or pressured, because this is also kind of the first time I'd be driving a real car in a way that's spirited. I was focused on driving, so my dad navigated a lot of the video. Also, our GoPro ran out of battery, so a lot of video was inside of the car.
Sprawled out in front of us, and a Subaru behind us. And a Subaru behind us. Like, we're turning what, like 3K, 3,000 RPM, and what, 62, something like that? All right. I'm driving at strong. Back to what I saw now.
I thought this was funny. Me filming the red MR2 out our sunroof, filming the green MR2 out his sunroof. Great minds think alike.
Now here we are. Clayton's been doing spirited driving for a couple hours now. Yeah. It's starting to get a lot more comfortable. I can feel the corners. There we go. Nice. Nice. All right. You're looking good, kiddo. I think Clayton's having fun. I'd say so.
By the end of 2 hours, I was pretty comfortable, and by the end of 4, I was having a ton of fun. Here's a couple cool things about the Dragon. There are roadside photographers who shoot you at turns, and you could buy the pictures of yourself online. People pack their lawn chairs just to pull off to the side of the road and spectate for a while. It's sort of like the motorsports equivalent of watching your local baseball team play. It was awesome watching other enthusiasts enjoy the sport. Most of the time, people were pretty respectful, staying in their lane and pulling over to let others pass if they're faster. And there was always police on the road, but people would tap their roofs or helmets to alert others that cops are up ahead. We did see 2 accidents. There was a downed motorcycle and a Porsche that looked like it slid off the road, and we got separated from the group once by a stoplight, but we managed to catch up. We didn't see any MR2 tickets or mishaps. The maps were all well organized, the radios worked well. Overall, it was a really well put together day.
At the end of the day, we pulled into the Fontana Village Resort. Everybody gathered for a group photo, but I think by then we'd lost at least half the cars. And we were both hot and tired and running on 3 hours sleep and had 4 hours of hard driving. So we went to the room and slept like a brick.
We finally got a good night's sleep, and we woke up feeling human. Then we went to go check out the resort. We stopped by the Killboy store and bought the MR2s on the Dragon sign, and then we hit the Deals Gap Motorcycle Resort. Checked out the Tree of Shame.
This is the Tree of Shame. I don't know how many of these are fatalities, but sure it's scary.
It's sort of simultaneously funny and tragic.
Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of this tree.
We drove Dragon again, with me at the wheel. We had some great view stops, and it was a lot less crowded, but there were still a lot of MR2s and other fun cars around. We went over to 129 Pub for t-shirts and burgers. Great recommendation from Ryan Cooper. We headed back to the hotel, loaded up our trailer, and headed home.
For the event itself, I think great planning, execution. I would give it a 10 out of 10. We were in Run Group 6 because it was my first week in the car, and the car had just been registered less than 2 days ago. For future, I think we can move to Run Group 4 or 5 because we could have gone a little bit faster. The planning as well was insane. They had a whole 11-page document detailing where we're going to go, when we're going to go, guides on what equipment to get. It was really good.
Yeah, we got to give a big shout out to Cameron Tooney and Brian Cooper, the guys at Hux Racing, all of the sponsors. It was just such a well-executed event. So,
what do you think about the hotel?
There was a lot to like. There were a lot of really good things. I thought the whole car culture was super fun. Every time we walked to breakfast, it was like going to a car show. The whole place was scattered with just interesting cars, interesting motorcycles. There's always somebody sitting next to you that you can kick up a conversation with about cars. It was a little bit like what I imagined the fancy private tracks like Pahrump are like, except for normal people that aren't stupid wealthy. Yeah, the views were great. The history of the place is really interesting.
Okay, but be honest, we had a couple issues.
You're right. The resort had a few flaws. Biggest issue, I would call the service was inconsistent. And like, look, in the restaurants, everybody was really nice. There were a lot of cool people, but the front desk was kind of a challenge. You know, we got in at 3:30 in the morning, and I woke the guy up, and he was clearly grumpy about that. He lost our reservation, and then he found it, and then he overcharged us, and then he didn't charge us at all, and I had to go back and get them to charge us the right amount. And every time we dealt with the front desk, it sort of felt like we were an inconvenience. We weren't the guests. We were sort of a nuisance that was keeping him from getting to more important things in the day. The thing about the room was, I think we ran across like 3 centipedes and a couple of bugs, had sort of a noisy air conditioning system. We're not room snobs, but it was a little bit like staying in a Motel 6, maybe a little bit run down Motel 6. Maybe a 7 out of 10, I think.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
All right, so what did you think of the Dragon itself, Clay?
Thing was a good, for the MR2 at least, it was a good second or third gear road. On Saturday, it got a little bit crowded, which was both good and bad because there were a lot of cool cars on the road, but then you couldn't drive as fast. 129 hub was really cool. We got some cool t-shirts, and they also had some pretty good food. I think I got a hot dog.
It had like stuff that the other stores didn't have.
Yeah, it wasn't just like off the shelf stuff. I felt like they had customized their own specific shirts to sell.
Exactly, so totally worth a stop. So in terms of logistics, we rented a truck from Enterprise Rent-A-Truck, about $100 a day. It was a Dodge Ram 2500. It pulled the trailer and the car, no sweat. Highly recommend that especially for a trip we drove 1,100 miles in 3 days. I think we totally got our money's worth. Truck turned about 12 and a half miles to the gallon.
For a truck towing a car, that's not that bad.
So what do you think, Clayton? You want to go back next year?
I think so. I mean, the nice thing about next year is it's going to happen like a whole week later. So it won't conflict with school. So then we can actually get there late night Thursday instead of late night Friday. So we don't miss those crazy Friday events. Like there was the swap meet, there was that, competition of who had the best MR2. There was that stuff, which we missed all that because I had to be at school on Friday.
So I totally agree. 100% we're going back next year. The other thing that I would change is we're going to reserve early, and we're going to make sure we get one of the rooms that's been renovated, and we're going to call. We'll confirm that with the front desk, and we won't show up at 3:30 in the morning. So
sounds like a plan.
All right, cool.